Oh, that's Rowan, that's,
Where's Jay on vacation, do you know? Where's Jay on vacation?
Didn't
you
take
know?
them for a ride, both babies, I had Lincoln,
You're gonna miss that.
they grab the steering wheel and they sit there and they
You're gonna
bang
have
on
to
it,
be
and they,
second and third to
and
get
they
my.
sit there, so I had him for an hour sitting there, and the kid was just.
You're live.
We're live? Meeting called to order. Today is June 18th. It is now 6:36 PM. Town Council meeting at Town Council Chambers, 1170 Main Street, West Warwick, Rhode Island.
Roll call. Councilman Dennison,
Here.
Councilman Lichardi,
Here.
Council Vice President Williamson.
Here.
Council President Goslin.
Here.
Quorum is declared. Consent agenda, approval of the minutes from the June 4th, 2024 regular town council meeting. And I'm sorry, the June 4th, 2024 executive session.
Move the consent agenda.
Moving second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Ordinances, second reading of ordinance 2024-5, repealing the existing zoning ordinance and adopting a revised zoning ordinance of the town of West Warwick.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
That's second reading, and I'm going through it, working on little changes that she wouldn't pick up with, making corrections that at some point I'll be coming back to you with.
Any questions for Al? Hearing none. Any public comment on this ordinance? Hearing none. Roll call. Jay?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Mary Beth?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
First reading of ordinance 2024-6, amending Appendix C traffic ordinances, Goff Avenue.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Moving second, Al?
No parking 100 feet from Payan up the southerly side of Goff.
And if anybody knows where that is, that used to be the electric substation.
Yeah.
So the electric company used to be able to get in and out of there, and when they had the speed, the kind of the vibrating strips in the street,
Rumble strip, yeah.
rumble strips.
Traffic strips,
Sorry,
yep,
thank you.
yeah.
Since then, since they've removed that station, people have been parking on both sides. And now it gets very tight around that bend in that corner. So just on one side where it was never really parking before, it's just there now. Any comments or questions on that? Any public comment on this ordinance? Hearing none, roll call. Jay?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Mary Beth?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
First reading of ordinance 2024-7, amending Chapter 11, Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Section 47, Motor Vehicle Restricted Routes, and Appendix C, Traffic Ordinances, Campbell Street.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Moving second, discussion. Al?
No through trucking on Campbell Street.
Pretty cut and dry.
Yep.
Any comments on this? Any public comment? Hearing none, roll call. Jay?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Mary Beth?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
First reading of ordinance 2024-8, amending Appendix C, Traffic Ordinances, Quaker Drive.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Moving second.
Stop sign at the end of Quaker Drive at the intersection of Shady Hill Drive on the southern end of Quaker Drive.
Any comments on this? I
This is
know
a-
this
this
is the
is a-
one that I drove by
Yeah.
after the meeting a couple of days later.
Yep.
I know I suggested one stop sign, but seeing what I seen,
It's difficult.
I would recommend three.
It's difficult. When you go up,
So wide.
it is, that's a problem. It just comes open.
Seeing the pictures, it was, like I said, I recommended
Yeah.
one, but after going out there, and I think I spoke to the lady that was, here,
Yep.
I kind of agree with the three myself, but
I would have serious objection to that,
why?
because you're putting a stop sign to protect the driveway. Everybody on that street could claim the same thing. Those stop signs are for speed.
I'm not looking for a speed control. I'm looking for a
Well, that-
safety control. I'm not, to me, the speed limit is 25 no matter what. It's 20, as soon as you leave that stop sign, it's 25. Right? I'm not looking for speed control. I'm looking for safety, nothing more.
I just, traffic, no, I'm just,
It's not
I'm
my
just-
word, I'm just giving my
no,
opinion.
I'm just.
think-
rep-
I
I'm
had
just
a
re-
difference of opinion last time. I said one, but
I'm just reporting what the dealings with the traffic committee, which I agreed with, when I spoke with Mark, I told him that I just, that's a straightaway.
So the
And,
traffic safety committee is going along with it and agrees that one is okay.
well,
They didn't want any,
they
I
didn't
know
want
that.
any, but they'd live with one, but they just.
It's the width of that intersection that, to your mind's eye, it definitely requires a little bit more, I think. So what's the process here?
It's you're the controlling factor. The state gives you the power to make the decision. If you want to, you're gonna have to.
I normally don't go against the traffic committee, but seeing what I saw, I have to. And I was opposite in 2 weeks
Your
ago.
call.
But again, it's not my water, but
And I don't think we're necessarily just protecting one driveway. I think we're protecting the intersection itself. I mean, there's a tremendous chance for something to go wrong in that intersection because of the width.
I'm actually surprised it hasn't gone.
I know.
Mr. President,
So-
can I make a suggestion? It has no stop signs now, correct?
Correct.
Right.
So if you put the first one up, you could pick a 30, 60, or 90-day period of time to see how it's working. If it's not working, then move to amend either to put additional stop signs or perhaps something additional in the road as a safety feature.
I think some of the issue is that putting the signs there is great, but if you don't have somebody there to enforce it, it really is not
That's
worth.
true, but I
it's not
mean,
worth-
it's
a
difficult
waste
to
of time.
determine what efforts this will have and how it will reduce the problems that were discussed at the last meeting until you have some more information. So
My only issue with that is that it'll be working fine as long as there's no accidents. If there's a crash there, then we can say, okay, we need two more. but if-
Speculation is difficult
Right.
to take a look at and try to decide what it could be. But I mean, because there's been nothing there for the past who knows how many years, at least one stop sign is a beginning and you can kind of monitor to see what's going on. And then perhaps it's something different than a stop sign or other traffic control, like the, over on Manchester, and Pulaski Street. That curb changed a very wide intersection into a narrow intersection, and it changed some of the problems over there. So that might be something to take a look at. But right now, at least one stop sign is going to give you some data to take a look at. And like I said, 30 or 60 or 90 days, perhaps you take a look at it again. Because your only other option is to reject and deny what the traffic safety control has requested.
I am hard pressed to go against the traffic safety committee, so I'd want them to weigh in and the police chief to weigh in on it. I have no problem with putting this one up, see what happens.
I'm just a scrivener. You tell me what to write.
Any other comments from the council? We can take a vote on it and go from there. if you
Yeah, we'll
want.
go from there.
Any public comment on this? Hearing none, I'll take a vote. Jay?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Mary Beth?
Yes,
I'll vote yes for now.
Thank you.
First reading of ordinance 2024-9, amending Appendix C, traffic ordinances, New London Turnpike.
move the ordinance.
Second.
It's a request to increase the speed. I did the research. I put the authority into my whereas clauses, but the town has the power to increase it.
From 25 to 30 miles
Right.
per hour.
So this came up, this came actually through Representative Serpa, came to Mark and I. And you know, I'm odd pressed, it was 25. As you know, going down from Coventry with a straightaway, you're coasting down. It's very difficult
You're burning
to
brakes.
do 25. So we talked about increasing the speed, going up to 30. Personally, to be honest, I don't think it's gonna make a hell of a difference. You know, Queeset Avenue is 35, which has stop and go traffic. I know after talking to Major Blaze, we decided to go to 30. I personally, I'm having different thoughts. I'd like to increase it up to 35 and go the same as Cohasset Avenue and treat it as a cut through.
The only comment I have is that, are we gonna put a sign at the end of it saying, hey, you're entering Coventry, slow down?
Oh, because it's 25 after you hit the
Go up
Coventry
to-
line.
get up-
Have we reached out to Coventry and talked to them about this? I mean, I know it's a high ticket area. I know, it's always been since I was 16. Can I get some refunds if it goes to 30? Because I know I
You
had a
weren't going
couple on that
30,
road.
yeah.
But have we reached out to Coventry and asked them about
Not to my
looking
knowledge.
at their request, maybe to move it up to 30, to keep it steady all the way through?
Not
Because
to my knowledge.
you are gonna have that situation where people are leaving West Warwick doing 35 to 37, and they're gonna get nailed in Coventry for going 12 over. So, I'm just wondering.
I can have,
But I
I can
guess I
talk
would,
to,
I would change
Doesn't-
my motion to table this
I
until we
can
have
talk to
further
Major
discussion.
Blay and
And if you're looking at 35, we might wanna talk about that with
Well,
Coventry.
I do have concerns about going to 35, and I discussed them with the major, and, human nature, you tend to go a little bit more than the speed limit, let's just be honest. And the enforcement tends to come in around the 15-mile-an-hour mark above the speed limit, which means a 35 would put that somewhere around 50. And that's excessive for that road. I think 30 would be a little more reasonable. I think somebody doing 45 on that road should absolutely get a ticket. But, if you're doing 41, obviously the police's discretion. I don't know.
Not having thought about the Coventry and the implication, because the town line is right over the hump there.
Right.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
so as I said, at this point,
But I can tell you, I think Coventry makes most of their revenue off these tickets coming down the hill, not so much going up the hill.
I think it's the same for West Warwick.
yeah,
I have a motion to table. Do I have a second?
but I think we need to do more work on
I
it.
think we need, yeah, I mean, I was thinking about this all day, coming down, trying to go 25, which is the speed limit now, it's very difficult. There's nobody on the road. And to go to 35, which is the same as Cohasset Avenue. I think it's realistic. I know you disagree with me.
The difference between Cohasset and New London is red lights.
You have to stop.
There's red lights on Cohasset that prevent, there's one on the top of the hill, bottom of the hill, middle of the hill. So that
Right.
prevents a continuous 35, 40 miles an hour. So like if Cohasset was no red lights on it and we were doing 40, I guarantee it'd be a mess. Coming from the side streets.
should I
But
then follow up with Major Blay?
Yeah, and I think you probably want to talk to Coventry too, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
just so,
maybe he
Get their
can-
thoughts with
Yeah.
their police department and maybe they can move theirs forward too. So I have a motion to table. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Al.
Thank you.
There's an ordinance to review too.
Business licenses.
Move the business licenses.
Second.
Moving second. Any comment? Any public comment on these licenses? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. All laundry licenses have been renewed. Filling station licenses have been renewed. Pistol and revolver license renewals have all been renewed. Vape King, New England Frozen Lemonade with peddler and hawker license, and Ushia Korea for amplifier loudspeaker has been all approved.
Appointments and resignations. Request from Francis Flynn for appointment to the planning board as alternate member for term ending July 2027.
Move the appointment.
Second.
Moving second. Any discussion?
I have, a bit of a concern with this one. It puts me in a bad place because his wife made it very clear to me that she does not want him spending extra time doing other things, so. Um, No, Frank is a neighbor and he's a good man and I think, he'd be great for this.
He's actually retiring, he said
Yes.
soon, so he was
And
looking for a couple
so
of things to do.
Sharon is
yes.
actually getting right where she wants to be and then he's gonna go do something like this, so.
Any other comment? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. And yes, Frank was also
Aye.
on our Charter Review Commission.
Yeah.
He was actually the chairperson
Yep.
for that, so.
For the record, I have to recuse myself because it's a planning board vote.
Right, new business. May 2024 finance reports.
Kristen,
Hi, Kristen.
Good evening. Current year tax collections total $66,440,913.82, which is 100.83% of the budget for current year taxes. We have collected all quarters and trending approximately 9% higher than expected. Prior year tax collections total $859,281.78, which is equal to 66.1% of the budgeted amount. This line has been adjusted by $388,262.80 for the 60-day rule that we accrued back to fiscal year 2023. Overall, the revenues are at 100.5%, which is higher than the expected 91.67%. This is mainly attributed to strong tax collections and higher than expected building, finance, and town clerk revenues. Expenditures are trending nearly as expected at 91.83%. This is 0.16% above the expected 91.67%. There are a few variables contributing to this. The variables net out to bring us within the 0.16% of our target. Some examples of that are as follows. 100% of the senior center appropriation is paid in the beginning of the year. Debt service and longevity have all been paid at 100%. And many of the operating department budgets and general government are trending at or below the expected 91.67%, including pension expense. So they kind of offset each other. The Civic Center has current operating expenditures of $656,255.43 and operating revenues of $659,252.51. The bank balance as of June 14th is $4,227,551.26. We earned an additional $188,206.68 on the $6 million in the interest-bearing sweep account with Citizens Bank as of May 31st. And we have also earned $334,875.52 as of May 31st in interest on our ARPA funds being invested at Centerville Bank.
any questions for Kristen? It's amazing now that banks are giving some interest, how we, collecting a little bit anyway.
Yep, take it while we can.
Exactly.
Thank you, Kristen.
Abatement of taxes in the amount of $34,419.60 as requested by the tax collector.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moving second, discussion. Tax collector here.
Yeah. This is just the purge that you do every year?
See.
Yeah.
What threw me off.
So motor vehicle bills were ended in 2021. So this past year, November 2023, when we do the tax offset program and we send out, we sent out the motor vehicle for like a 10-year just to see what was out there and see what we could get. And a lot of them came back undeliverable, no forwarding address. And then that's when we started researching. Robin helped us out in tax assessor's office, researched all of these bills that are from 2000, probably 14 till present. And they're deceased. So
Yeah.
we need to just remove them from our from our accounting, because it just makes it not good.
And when we actually switched systems, we actually did a purge. We got rid of some of the old
We
stuff.
did, and
Are we gonna do that again?
Yes, we are.
Yes,
I
okay.
wanted to do this first.
Okay, perfect.
And then that's my next, that's on my agenda,
Okay.
my list to do. I believe it's 2013 and prior years that we're getting rid of,
Okay,
but I had to get this done first.
perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Rose? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Rose.
discussion action, consideration of truck lease for the Department of Public Works.
You want to talk on
Move.
this? Who wants to
Yeah.
talk on this?
I'll just give the Cliff Note version and leave the specifics. So if you recall during our discussion of the FY '25 budget, we eliminated one of the DPW trucks, thinking that as a possibility to do a lease. So Kristen has worked out with the lease people. We have an opportunity for a decent rate while we're in the process of going through the lease. So before we finalize that, we just thought it would be appropriate to put that back before you for consideration if we wanted to add the truck that was cut back into the leasing program to take advantage of the rate that's being offered.
You comfortable with it?
Yeah, I mean, we're going out for the lease for the public safety equipment and the chiller, and I mean, it's a good opportunity at this point, and if it goes up a little higher, it's definitely gonna get us a better rate when it
Okay.
goes out to bid. So,
We have to take any action here tonight?
I think,
I know it says action, discussion action, but
Yeah, there's nothing attached. So,
yeah, I wasn't sure, I think we just wanted to make sure that you were, I think we'll have a more formal resolution coming before you, as long as, I didn't want to include
as you
it.
go through the lease
The
process.
process,
Perfect.
correct.
Yeah, I would,
I didn't want to put it on there and then have it.
Recommend that they both move forward.
yeah, I would,
We would
are you guys
recommend that.
comfortable with in adding that to the,
Yes.
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, thank
Awesome.
you.
You're welcome.
Adoption of the fiscal year 2025 Civic Center Enterprise Fund.
Move the resolution adopting the Civic Center Fund.
Second.
moving second, any discussion? Here, we went through 2 workshops.
We have, right, we are adopting 774, and then there's a capital page. After it, that's supposed to be in here.
I think she's just reminding us that we said no. Just- Is that correct, Lori? Yeah? Yeah,
Any other comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution authorizing an agreement for curbside collection of soft recycling between the town of West Warwick and Big Brothers Big Sisters of Rhode Island.
move the resolution.
Second.
Moving second, discussion? Mark, do you-
I'll defer to Jeff and Nicole on it.
So does this replace what we currently do or don't do, or?
Good
we had
evening,
lots of-
everyone. So it is, we will be swapping companies with Curbside Textile Recycling, who is currently picking up our curbside textiles right at the curb door side. We did receive 2 bids for it. Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Rhode Island Donation Center was the second bid. And this really came down to the numbers. Both companies, the people I've dealt with, they're wonderful people, but Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Rhode Island have yearly tripled the tonnage collected. And that's not even in contract with the town of West Warwick. So can you just imagine going into contract with them, being able to promote them even more? People are already familiar with Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Rhode Island Donation Center, a little more familiar than Curbside Textile Recycling. So I really feel numbers wise, we'll do much better with this rollout.
So I understand this is a 2-sided situation. One, obviously, people donating, it reduces our
Mhm.
tonnage going to the landfill.
Correct.
But secondly, financially, I know they're gonna be responsible for everything, but I know over the years, I've always heard I can get the town $1 million a year and so on and so forth. What was the revenue like with curbside?
So, Kristen, I don't have the actual dollar amount. Just to give you an idea, we received, I think it was 10 cents per pound, and we had 5,000 pounds 10,000 pounds, 5,000 tons in the 1 year. So we did make a few thousand. Big Brothers Big Sisters tripled that amount in their tonnage. I have to
They're
collect.
more popular.
They really are. And the other thing they also do is they're not only picking up clothing, they will pick up by appointment at the same time, anything that people want to donate at the same pickup. So we get that deferred weight. We will not receive payment on a baby crib or baby toys or whatnot, but we're now saving weight in the bulk. And we're making that convenience for people other than just putting it on the curb for, trash. It'll get taken away, but it is a lot of weight. People are also very, like I said, much more familiar with the Big Brothers and Sisters. Many of the complaints I did get, and the reason why a lot of people did not unfortunately put out curbside for CTR was they didn't know where their clothes were going. They felt that they didn't want to just give it to other people to make money off of and whatnot. BB, BS, they are local. Their clothes go through savers, local charities and whatnot. So again, I feel people will be more apt to donate like they are already, but now we can work with them. We can also put a textile bin on the Department of Public Works property for easy access for people to donate if they still feel the need to use those textile bins, which they do. I collect the pound percentages from all the companies every calendar year. And the amount, unfortunately, curbside textile recycling collected the least from all those other companies that were bin oriented. So I think to do both would really do us justice.
So if curbside textiles wanted to come onto somebody's property, continue to do this, are they allowed to do that?
Yeah, people could still call curbside textile and utilize
Be a
them.
private thing.
But then they would be private at that point and we would receive nothing from it. Yeah.
So we only will receive from this one company.
So it's
like-
basically a flip, Councilman Lichardi. Currently, people are calling Big Brothers and Big Sisters, 3
And
times
we're
the
getting
amount of
nothing.
people to come and take their textiles from their home, and we're getting the bubble for it. So we're just now,
So what would the process be now? The people would call the town?
nope, they would call the donation center,
Okay.
and the donation center will do runs throughout West Warwick on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So they won't be in town every single day. Their pro for that is they feel it's a better carbon footprint. They're not out there every day. They're not crowding the roads. So it would be, people would call them directly and they could leave whatever they wanted and have it taken off the curb, the clothing, all the textiles rather, not just clothing. They collect, we would get credit for all textiles, which would include blankets, towels, draperies. Currently with CTR, we do not get credit for that. And yeah, it would be taken away.
So tell me what that credit is. Tell me.
So curbside, for the 2 bids, curbside textile recycling came in at 8 cents per pound. Big Brothers Big Sisters of Rhode Island Donation Center came out at 6 cents per pound. But at 3 times the amount it did. So we really just looked at the numbers that were coming. I even went back 3 years ago. And so just to give you an idea, CTR was 5.2 tons for the calendar year 2023. And Big Brothers and Big Sisters were 17.68. In calendar year of 2022, curbside was 5,900 tons. Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Rhode Island was about 14,000. And calendar year of 2021, CTR that was like our first roll-off basically for it, was 8,300 tons. And Big Brothers and Big Sisters they actually broke it down for me, 18,000 tons, I'm sorry, 18,000 pounds and 7.3 tons of the combination of textiles and extra goods.
So it's
So
basically about volume. The more volume they
it
do,
is
the
more,
better, the better we.
exactly. I have nothing, both companies were wonderful. Curbside textile, wonderful, wonderful. Just the volume was not what we were looking for. And after the numbers came in for my collection of deferment in January, and then going to bid, seeing those numbers, that we could financially be much better with the Big
What do we
Brothers and
pay
Big
per ton to
Sisters.
go to the landfill?
60, so
Close.
if you, $67
$67.
per,
Okay.
per ton.
Yeah.
And then anything exceeding that ton, we're now up to $110. Ridiculous. So
You just
in our-
heard that in the sewer. Right, right.
So our cap always is around that 10,000 pound, 10,000 tons. And we always are at cap. So we are really trying to stay under the cap, so we don't have to pay $110 per ton. That adds up a lot.
And have we,
It's a big savings going to the
Yes.
landfill.
And
Exactly.
just even if Big Brothers and Big Sisters, like I said, can pull off the non-textiles just as a convenience, which they will with those phone calls, and take it out of the bulk, will help us
right,
a lot as well.
right. And have we,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't think people realize, but without any choice of anybody, the whole state will see basically $100,000 increase just to throw your trash away.
Yeah.
That was,
in the
no
contract,
choice
the
by
contract
contract.
we currently have is expiring or has expired.
Yeah.
And we will notify them of our decision instead of just,
Correct.
okay.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Once everything gets
Yes.
signed, we'll let them know.
thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions for Nicole? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Approval of the collective bargaining agreement between the town of West Warwick and the local 1104 International Association of Firefighters.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moving second. Discussion? Mark?
Certainly, I noticed a couple of their executive board members are here. I just want to acknowledge, and obviously Council Vice President Williamson was on the negotiating panel with me, dealing with the IAFF again for at least the second series in a row. Was a very good experience. I think we have some very dedicated public safety employees, and that's matched by their executive board and negotiating committee. Again, as I mentioned during executive session, both parties went in there with some goals and some needs, and I thought we worked very well to work through those. So the tentative agreement before you tonight is a 3-year agreement starting July 1st through June, and then through June 30th of 2027. We're at the point now where their body has voted in favor of it. Now it's before the council for their vote and then to finalize it. Just for the general terms that are of the most interest, the salary increases that are tentatively agreed upon are 2% every 6 months for the duration of the contract, for a total of 12% over the 3-year agreement. The fiscal impact statement that's required under law shows that for fiscal year 25, the fiscal impact statement is just over 364,000. For FY 26, just under 371,000. And the most significant increase would be FY 27, where it's just over 602,000. I'll get into the reason why that year is higher. The other monetary changes in the proposal, including salary adjustments to battalion chiefs and captains to make them on par with a couple other assignments. The addition of the Juneteenth as a recognized holiday, a fix to a calculation error of holiday for one of the partial shifts. And then the big ticket item is the addition of 2 firefighters to staff Rescue 3, which would be a 3rd rescue for a 40-hour per week schedule starting on or about July 1st of 2026. The items for the savings for the town are an increase in the employees' co-share for healthcare. And that's pretty much the summary. So again, I believe it's in the best interest of the town to approve the tentative agreement. I think we worked hard together to come up with something that is, allows the chief and the administration to efficiently and effectively operate our public safety agency, while also putting out a product that allows us to attract and maintain proper staffing.
Any questions for Mark? I just want to clarify a couple things. First, I want to thank Mary Beth. You know, you spent hours of your time negotiating. You took time out of your day to help relieve the council from doing so. Mark, thank you. You know, as town manager is your responsibility, but thank you for your hard work and professionalism. And both unions, I know we're voting on both, but I'm going to say it one time. Both unions for working close with everybody, and I've been around for many of these contracts where sometimes it wasn't so pleasant. You know, it gets very tough. It's been tough times. I hear they're very professional. I hear everything's been going pretty smooth. Again, I want to thank everybody who's involved with making that happen.
I think that Sherry, the HR person, was key in having her sit in on those, and both chiefs were involved too. So I think it's important that
That's why I
people
knew I
know
was gonna
that.
miss people. I said
Yes,
everybody
yeah,
involved.
yeah.
But no, thank you for everything that you guys have done. Now, the only other question I have is I know there's no attachments to either one of these. Does that have any? I know this is tentative agreement, so eventually would that be attached and?
So they will be attached to the minutes when they finalize, they'll be hopefully done within the week. The tentative agreement just has final review for grammatical errors, reformatting, adjusting the table of contents for the final document to be signed. So when the clerk posts the minutes, it'll have the fiscal impact statement, it'll have my recommendation memo with what I just outlined, as well as the documents.
So this resolution actually gives the town manager the authority to sign the documents when they're finalized.
Any other comment? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you.
Approval of the collective bargaining agreement between the town of West Warwick and the local 312 International Brotherhood of Police Officers.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moving second. Any Mark?
Certainly. So all the items that I mentioned about working well with them, and obviously my background and coming from that organization, a lot of the stuff in there is I'm very familiar with and remains very important to me. So again, we have the tentative agreement for a 3-year contract starting July 1st and running through June 30th of 2027. Their membership voted on it yesterday to majority approved it. It is now before the council for their again, the salary items slightly different than the firefighters. Under the terms of this temporary agreement, their membership would, again, with 6% correction, salary adjustments each of the 6 months through the 3-year agreement. The first year is a 3% and a 3%, and then 2% on the remaining 4 6-month segments. The fiscal impact statement, as required, the first year for fiscal 25 is a little more than 404,000. For fiscal year 26, just over 274,000, and fiscal 27, a little more than 282,000. The other monetary changes include a stipend for approximately 10 members of the regional SWAT team for clothing and equipment allowance, addition of Juneteenth as a recognized holiday, a slight increase in the evening and overnight shift differential, and the savings to the town include an increase in the employees' co-share for healthcare and the give back of 2 personal days. And again, it was provided, fiscal impact statement was provided by our finance director. So again, I recommend that that you approve the tentative agreement. And just like with our firefighters, I think there was some give and take on a few different matters. There was some important management rights functions that the chief was looking for. And I think we worked together to come to an agreement on things that will allow him and his administration to efficiently and effectively run a police department, and obviously the fiscal considerations that allow us to attract and maintain quality people.
Any questions for Mark? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Discussion action, consideration of potential charter amendments.
Do we need a motion? It's just discussion. Yeah.
Who wants to start on this? See some,
We currently have the all-day referendum,
Mhm.
right? And obviously, we didn't have many people show, under 250 people. I still look at it as we had 250 people show, which isn't the outcome that we wanted, but I don't feel to take away anybody's vote is acceptable. I know financially, it's probably not the best way to go. So one of my thoughts was, what if we don't make an all-day referendum and we shorten the time? Same place. If there's any savings, it's gonna be with time. People are gonna be working less. And my opinion is to go somewhere like a 12 to 7 or a 1 to 7. The people that are gonna come out to vote are gonna find the time to vote. They know when it was. Mark sent out the code red. It's on all the signage. I don't think we can do any more advertising. If people aren't gonna come, they're not gonna. So, but I also look at it, 250 people did come. And how long does it take to vote? Takes longer to get down Queeset Avenue than it does to vote. Seriously, takes 5 minutes. So you adjust your time to come to meetings, which, there's many people in the audience that come. I think if we wanted to adjust things, and I'm gonna go out on a limb, but I think the financial town meeting is a waste of time. We don't cover it through Zoom. We have what, one, besides the department heads, one person? I think if we're gonna try and cut anything, maybe we can look at doing some of that.
so
But
I kind of thought somewhat the process. Everybody knows my reasons why I supported this years ago when we started this with the all-day referendum. I think I shared that story with all of you. But why can't we vote that night of our town financial meeting? I know it's a little difficult, but if we have outside, I'm not looking for that public vote, because that public vote is, like, I seen in the past, people get harassed per se, right? And because they have to publicly raise their hand, and if I see John or Al vote this way and up on stage, and all of a sudden that person's mad at them for voting that way. It shouldn't be that way. That's why I went with the all-day referendum. Everybody's vote should be a private vote. But if we had the town financial meeting that night, let's face it, we can be done in a half hour. If there's any questions, then they can go out in the hallway with 5 booths, and we're gonna have a little line for a little bit, but you vote right there that night publicly, put it in. I don't know, Sarah. You're shaking your head.
They'd be in line for a very long time.
Oh, that depends, 250 people? It's yes or no? You check them in before. No.
Logistically, I don't think you can. I think you, as you hand them a ballot.
That's true.
I mean, that was my just idea of looking at it that way, because I understand it both ways. It is getting very expensive to host these all-day referendums.
What was the cost on that? Roughly?
Probably
say it's 6. We cut it in half.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
now you cut the availability. People may, because
If people want to vote, they're gonna make the time to come.
you're still paying the poll workers, the clerks and all that.
Right.
The same money, same $125 or $150. So whether you cut the time in half is one thing, but you're just reducing the time frame to come to vote. Now, me personally, it depends on how my schedule goes. Sometimes I can't get there for 7 o'clock, so I might be there at 4 o'clock. But if you close that gap on me, I might not be able to get to either or. You know, that's the tough part.
I think West Warwick is a bit of an outlier. It is an archaic, and certainly the financial town meeting, just the time and the setup of the whole auditorium. I think that we do provide, you know, 2 workshops, 2 public hearings. We don't get the participation we'd like to get. And I do have people say to me, and I'm sure we all do, that, you know what, we didn't know about it. I don't know how else we can, let people know. I know that Coventry did, last time around, change to a supermajority. We do spend an awful lot of time here working on it with, I know that the town manager and the department heads also do. I do think it's an archaic way to do it, and I think we are an outlier as far as the number of communities that actually do have an all-day referendum at this point in time. So I would like to see a way to streamline that.
It could be archaic right here on the council though, too, meaning, you know, depending on the council's desire that year or whatever, supermajority, you know, is 4. you know.
I understand that,
And-
which.
But then
yeah.
there could be a lot of animosity up here on stage also, which I don't want, I hate to see too. That takes, we work on the budget. And I think, Jay, you've been vocal, you've voted no on the budget once or twice.
Yeah.
Right? There may have been times that a supermajority wouldn't have passed. So we take that now, Jay makes his decision not to vote on a budget. But he puts it before the voters. He decided, now he can go up there and vote any way he wants when he goes up there. His vote counts up there too. So ultimately, the person, it's taken out of our hands up to a certain extent. You know, we propose that budget and whether or not the voters want it. And the past 3 or 4 years, they've wanted it. Been close and narrow, both, I think, a few times.
But they had the opportunity, though. I'm thinking of, you have a group in front of you that agrees with the budget we're putting forward, and then a group that doesn't agree with you. Okay, so or Ward 4, they're both in Ward 4. So then both are looking at me to be there for them as their council person and to support them. I can't support both, whether I'm gonna agree with one and disagree with another. So I'm their vote, and I don't think that's fair. They're voting us in as council people to make decisions, but as far as a vote on what they're paying for taxes and where they think their money should go, I just don't feel comfortable being in my hands.
But we're asking them to make that change. We're not making the change. They'd have to vote upon this.
Right.
To make the change. Yeah, so it's not, we have no ability to do that. So it's, do we put that question before the voters as to whether we should change the method? That's all.
I don't feel comfortable just taking it out of their hands. Unless what if we put, and maybe I'm looking at this the wrong way, what if we put different options on the ballot? And give 3 different options on the ballot of how we would like to change this, and the people could vote on those 3 options. So they have like an A, am I saying this the wrong way? If we have an A, B, and C on this question,
You would make it more confusing unless you knew baseline how many people were going to come out to vote, because if you're going to put 3 options in, you could have a very small group dictate the worst of the options or the best of the options. So I mean, you'd pretty much have to put it yes or no, because if you add the options, there'll be complaints that it was confusing. There'll be complaints that it's going to be interpreted the wrong way. So if you were to do something along the lines of the budget, you know, supermajority versus a ballot vote that evening at the financial town meeting, going back to the way it used to be, financial town meeting and public vote. There are many things involved in all of those that get to be very confusing when you're trying to interpret them. So when people come up to you and you have something, the wording on the ballot, it gets very confusing. And then after the fact, if they don't get what they wanted, you can face litigation, you can face all sorts of questions because people were confused. I mean, just think of what's going on with early voting in the last, say, 8 to 10 years, and how much, you know, the rise of this has been in this country because of that, because people still think something is going on when it may or may not be. And I don't want to get into an argument about it, but just that's an example of what could happen if you give a choice option on, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, where do you stop with your options? I mean, I think that as a council, you'd want to be as clear cut as you can and limit the amount of interpretation, limit the amount of confusion. But the other suggestion I would have is that the manager put together a list of 15 or so items. Council might want to prioritize to find out what they want to have done as of this upcoming general election in 2024, and then what they might look at in 25, and then the election in 26. Because sooner or later, there's going to be you guys are going to nominate Charter Review Commission, I would assume. Someone mentioned that Frank Flynn had been the last chairman. Before that had been Sean Hensler, so I think that's going to be coming up in the next couple of years anyway.
30. Right.
Or 2030, that's I'm an old man, this next couple of years.
So we talked about when this decision has to be made, and we're on a timeline.
I think
Yeah,
Sarah gave the date.
Month? Okay.
And again, as I said before, you may want to have just one meeting that is just a workshop to allow everyone that's interested provide to the council in writing what they might want to see as a change in the charter. Because that way you're just not limited to your ideas.
I think most of the stuff on here, we can discuss later on, but I think the one that's the controversial one would be the all-day referendum, so.
You got some things involved in here that are just, you have to make sure that it coincides with whatever the state law is, or maybe federal law. Other items regarding, you know, the cost differential as to what things were back in 1988 versus 2024, inflation, things of that nature. Those are kind of easy. But the big ones are going to be how you do your budget, financial town meeting, and the referendum question.
So Sarah, so a well-oiled machine that your office is in with the board of canvases. Say registration starts at 6, meeting starts at 7. 200 people show up. They can stay for the meeting or they can vote right there. If they already know what's going on, you know, if they read up, they can vote. We go through our presentation. How long do you think, if you had 5 booths and you give everybody, as they're coming in, they register, you give them a ballot. They can vote right there and then. They don't have to stay for the meeting, or they stay for the meeting and vote afterwards.
So, I mean, you're going based
If you
on.
got 1,000, I could see it being
Right, that's
slim,
not, you're
right?
going based on the last couple of years where you've had very small increases in the budget, so you've had low voter turnout. So if you were up against a 4% increase next year and you did this, you might have 1,500 people that want to come out. So
And-
then what do you do?
The old days, when you went in, you got a green card that allowed you to stand up and vote that particular evening. If you're going to allow people to come in and out, whether they're attending the meeting or not, that could get a little haphazard too. And you're also going to have people in there that aren't going to know what the new procedure is, because those are the same people that don't remember each year that the financial town meeting and all-day referendum occur at the same time. So there'll be questions that'll be posed to you that night as it relates to how the voting process is going to work. So you're going to have to add that to your agenda to answer questions, because there's going to be a lot of people that don't want to know how to do it, or if they think they know how to do it, they might have to be re-instructed on how to do it.
We have more than 5 voting booths.
You could, but if you have
Is that an extra
1,500
cost?
people, you might actually have to shut down your meeting if the amount of people that come out to do
You'd
that.
have to go to the complex.
We've had to shut down the meeting in 2010 or 12.
In order to avoid a building code violation or fire code violation, and you're anticipating a large number, you would just move yourself out of the auditorium and then go to the Civic Center. Which back in the late eighties, early nineties, that's where most of the financial town meetings were.
I think the two biggest financial town meetings were in the late eighties, early nineties, when they were gonna cut sports. And
1993, they had to stop the meeting, motion to recess because the state hadn't passed its budget yet, so we had to come back and do it all over again. That turned into a slugfest.
and then 2010, 12,
With sports.
sports. But I think the most attended is when they decide to cut sports. So if we don't cut sports, it won't be highly attended, I guess. I don't know. But, I don't know, like even if, okay, you go back to the green card, I don't want them to publicly vote. But if
The
they
green
do
card usually
yes
just
or
gives-
no,
Green card gives you the ticket to vote, but you can still have a private vote. But that's just gonna take time. And it's gonna be a private vote no matter what, so people don't have to go through what I think we've all seen to some extent or the other. But you'd still have a private vote with a ballot, the machine there. However, that would just take time. And then again, the number of polling stations you would technically have, you would be paying
Each one
the
of
same,
those
because you
poll
pay by
workers.
day, you don't pay by hour, the poll workers. So even if it's a 15-minute vote, you're still gonna pay them,
It still costs us relatively the same.
right? So it sounds like fun, but there's a lot of work involved in it.
I don't have, I mean, we can always, like Mary Beth said, it is the voter's choice when they go out and vote. Now, obviously, come November, I mean, it's a presidential election. There's gonna be a lot more people out voting in West Warwick, so they could tell, they're gonna tell us, even, because this is the best election because it's the presidential election, right? The following 2 years, it's the governor's election. You still don't have you don't have as many people come out as you do for the presidential, so we would hear loud and clear which way they want us to go if you move this forward. You know, either way, I mean,
So what would we be moving forward? To
Well,
keep
we
the
still gotta-
all-day referendum versus a supermajority?
I think there was wording that, I don't, maybe,
I think the word is majority.
I gave you guys an example of what Coventry did for their budget. So what they do is they do, supermajority. The manager proposes a budget, they vote on it. If it's not supermajority passed, the manager has a second chance to propose a new budget. If they reject that one, it goes to an all-day referendum at that.
is there an ability for the council to adjust that though in there? Or is it just what the
Yes,
man,
yeah.
yeah, so you still
Yeah.
have the ability to have the public hearings and,
Oh, public hearings are required by state law.
Between the
so-
But I
council and the
mean,
manager, there would be
but-
one budget.
so it's not just the town manager's budget, it is,
Right, he
okay.
presents the
Yeah,
budget.
that's
right.
what, that's what I
Workshops.
meant, yes.
Same that happens right
Same
now.
thing, workshops and,
Yeah.
and public
So it
hearing.
would be the same as what you have now at the conclusion of your public hearings.
Right.
If you were unable to pass something on supermajority, it would
Yep.
then go
Yep.
trigger an all-day referendum.
So we would do away with financial town meeting. This would be the second public hearing we
Just the
have.
second public hearing,
Right.
then after the second public hearing, next agenda. Or that night, either way. I'd like to make it the next
Yeah.
council
Digest it.
meeting because digest it, but
And I think might be some posting required too.
So if we were to do that, and we were to figure out a number of, if we were to do that and just figure out a base number of 250, those 250 would come to the all-day referendum, may be coming here. We'd have to have it in a different place at the high school or so.
yeah, if it's one of those controversial
Yeah.
budgets, I mean, we've been, I mean,
Would we
I think
have
everybody,
access to Zoom at that point?
that's a good question.
Because a lot of people I know, like, I mean, I've heard so many people who watch the meetings who don't come here.
I'm sure that could be arranged,
Absolutely. I'm not sure what the school has for.
but it could,
I think that would be very important. Doesn't matter where we have it, but I think that would be important to have.
You might just have to set up your laptop. I think they have internet up there and everything.
Yeah,
in
they
there.
do.
If you have no cameras, no laptop, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah.
so
They're,
I don't know if their system can integrate with Zoom.
Yeah.
I know it, or they said it couldn't, that changed.
We'd have to check into that.
Sure, Mr. Green can tell us quickly.
Hmm?
Or Mr. Green can tell us that quickly, whether they have that.
School committee Zoom their meeting?
they don't have it in the auditorium. They have it up in the,
the
oh,
library.
like, media
It's-
center.
yeah,
Yes,
it's-
media center. Yes. Yeah. But that's a question we can ask. I mean, that shouldn't preclude us from, I'm sure we could get technology there if we had to.
All right, we'll ponder it for the next meeting until July, I guess. We have time, right? In July if.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
You absolutely can. The only thing is that we would have to have ballot wording
Yep.
approved before August 1st. So you might have to throw in an extra, once, if you guys decide, let's say, 'cause you only have one meeting in July. If you guys decide on a few amendments, I know that there was multiple suggestions in there for amendments. I don't know if you guys got a chance to read through that.
Some of them are minor. I mean, transfer of appropriations is by ordinance now, make it resolution. I mean, those kind of things, which would shorten the length of time and the need for 2 votes, that kind of stuff. So,
I think there's a lot of good suggestions. I think I've already explained to you guys that the state is already putting forward some bond questions. So the ballots are already gonna be fairly lengthy before we even get a chance to put ours on there. So they recommended that we kind of only take a few important
Yes.
questions
Yep.
this time around, because if not, we'll have a 2-page ballot, which can sometimes lead to complications on election day, especially with the turnout. we're
Yeah,
expecting.
like the pension board, we don't have to put that on a ballot. We know that's gonna expire, right?
Right.
So
right,
So it's something
that
some
could be
things
for the next charter review committee.
Right.
Yeah.
For 2026, so
Yeah.
we can
right,
do it.
right.
So yeah, if we can, we might have to have one additional meeting in July just to approve ballot questions.
All right. Thank you, Sarah.
Crompton Playground update.
Mark?
All right, so we're excited that there's actually some movement happening. We had some prolonged re-engineering due to some groundwater and some other engineering type topics that are way outside of my area of expertise. But there is an RFP that's out right now. It's running through July 1st. They had a pre-construction meeting out there on Monday. So by July 1st, we'll have those bids in. We hope to have them before you with a recommendation at the July 9th meeting. And then we'd try to get that contractor out as soon as possible, hopefully before the end of July. In the meantime, DPW would be doing some of the rough grading and preparation. That'll keep us on a much better timetable and also allow for us to do that in-kind service as our co-share or a significant part of our co-share towards that work that needs to get done. The one big thing that's pending, one of the additions that we're looking to do is to do that poured in place flooring, if you will, on the center part of the playground where the newest features would be. That would be in between the combo half basketball court and 2 pickleball courts and the older play area. So we'd be looking for a funding source for that poured in place. But once I get the numbers off the bid on what that would cost, and we see how the progress is progressing, I'll find the appropriate time to propose a funding source, whether it be American Rescue Plan money, savings account, or the Recreation 1721 or whatever. Unrelated to that, actually, I'll skip that for another time. So things are progressing there. Like I said, hopefully you'll have a contractor to choose from based upon the recommendation at the July 9th meeting. And we should see more vigorous activity there within a week after that.
Any questions for Mark? Thank you, Mark. I'll go far.
School building committee update.
Mark?
So the school building committee continues to meet at least once a month. We have subgroups that have met. Right now, we're working on development of a website and communication plan. That's an internal small group, so that should be coming out soon. The bigger behind the scenes item is obviously Tecton was selected. They're working on the stage 2 plan, which in layman's terms will be taking that stage 1 plan on what we showed as our needs, whether it's programmatic or space, and coming up with recommendations on how to best address them and the options. So that's in progress. That's months away. But most importantly, we should have enough information to be able to start better public outreach as school returns on that timetable. We should have some more information on some options as they get closer, and we can aggressively share the items that were identified as issues so people can digest those and then a few months later, hopefully be on the timetable to come back with some recommended solutions.
Any questions for Mark? Thank you, Mark.
Request from the Tuxet River Authority for annual contribution of $7,000.
Move the request.
Second.
Moving second, this is, again, it's in the budget already. I did receive a letter and their financial statements, so if you need a copy of that, you can get that from Sarah, as she has it. Any other comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Request from National Electric Verizon New England for pole placement on Crawford Street.
Move the request.
Second.
You're against it, electric,
I know.
not national.
Still called Narragansett Electric after all these years.
Yeah. There's no attachment on here, on the West Warwick page anyway.
No, but I think
But-
there was. It was in it's in what
It's
was
in
sent out.
it's in the email. I just want to point
Yes,
that out.
yeah.
So, it's in the one you sent to us,
They didn't
Correct.
but
attach
it's
it?
not attached to
No.
number 12. But normally these, they know what they're doing, so I don't have a problem with it.
It should have been, because the packet I send you guys is the same one I sent.
Yeah.
her. I'll follow up with them to make sure it's attached.
I just want to say, I don't have a problem with it either, but when they replace the poles, they need to clean up after themselves. They leave piles everywhere and they don't replace the sidewalk pieces that they take out for months or years on end, and then it chases on. So if we're gonna allow it, we need to make sure that they do the job and do it completely. Not leave a mess. Just my opinion.
So how do we oversee that?
Well, when we give them the approval, we need to tell them, in my opinion, that however we read it up, that they need to replace the sidewalk that they take it out of and take their mess with them the day they do it. You can't stay there. We're cleaning up stuff from 2 or 3 years ago when they replaced poles.
So when we give them approval, they just kind of go and do their own thing. We don't have anybody.
No, because
Watching over.
a lot of times when they do certain things, especially if the pole breaks or something to that effect,
Yeah.
they go out and replace
Yeah.
it, but they don't complete the job, and then it sits there, and then the chase is on, and we have Joe Agenti call them, and the chase is still on with certain things, so I just, then it becomes our problem, we're replacing the sidewalk, and we're taking money out of our budget to fix their problem, so.
So this is to add a pole. This is not to replace a pole. So,
To move it, isn't it?
well, to move, yeah, move a little
Yeah.
further down.
20 feet or so?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we,
So in their defense, and I understand the 2-3 year thing is crap, but in their defense, they have to wait. National Grid does their transfer first.
Yeah.
right? And Cox does their transfer, and then Verizon, and then they take the pole with them, the old pole with them.
okay,
The same thing is just like anything else, you do have to worry about settlement.
Oh, no,
So
I-
they're drilling that pylon, and that's why you see the pile of dirt there.
yeah, oh, no, I
And
completely
so to
understand.
cement it the same day, I agree, you can't do that.
No, but
Within
they
30
can-
days, they should be. able
And they
to.
can take their old cement that they took out away with them
Sure.
because we get people calling about tripping hazards and it becomes our problem after that. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Upcoming appointments, Sewer Use Board of Review, appointment to fill a vacancy as an alternate member for a 3-year term. Sewer Use Board of Review, appointment to fill a vacancy as a regular member for a 3-year term. Tax Assessment Board of Review, appointment to fill a vacancy for a 3-year term. School Building Committee, Architectural, Engineering, Construction Experience Needed. Tree Warden. Recreation Committee, appointment to fill a vacancy for a 3-year term. Planning Board was filled this evening. Patuxent River Authority, appointment or reappointment for a 3-year term. Planning Board, appointment or reappointment for a 5-year term. Zoning Board, appointment or reappointment for a 5-year term, and the West Warwick 250th Commission. Public forum.
Any public comment? Hearing none?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Do you guys want to